Good afternoon, Brian. How are you?
Shawn, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. This was an easy decision and very easy. I'm awesome that we got an opportunity to meet. What was that, back in January, the end of January?
Yeah.
Closely aligned just because of the industry and such, but really got an opportunity to kind of get to know each other. And I'm excited about today to get to talk to a legend of our industry.
Oh, well, that's for your listeners. Legend is code for an old guy.
Whatever. So, Brian, we call this lending with purpose. It's morphed. You know, I started doing live streams almost a year ago, and I was counting, and I say the wrong number pretty much every week. So this morning I counted. So 48 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, every Thursday at 2:00.
All right.
Yeah, and so with lending with purpose, you know, we talk to our conversations with our clients and friends. Excuse me, introductions to various forms of information, professionals, and resources. That we use, we look for, that we never knew existed, right? Or wanted to learn more about. And so that's the premise of this. And so as I thought about our conversation today, I typically, I'll wear, business casual during this time. I got sweatpants on though underneath this. and I really love t-shirts, right? And I like to wear t-shirts. And so I'm reminded of partly of the reason why I like the t-shirts. And you may have heard me talk about this before, but it just reminds me of being on the quad.
Yeah.
George Mason University is where I attended school. And you walk into the student union building and you have these folks around with clipboards and they're dangling these t-shirts, right? And they're wanting you to really sign up to get a credit card.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. I got a lot of t-shirts. Let's just put it that way.
A lot of credit cards.
yeah, a lot of credit cards. And so, I wasn't that responsible with the credit cards once I got them. I just didn't take it that seriously. I thought like, wow, if I'm able to get it, it must be easy to use. This is like free money.
Yeah.
And, everybody's going to make $1 million when they walk across the stage with their bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah.
And so what? I'll just pay them back later. But I didn't understand that, you got to pay on time.
Yeah.
When you go to try to buy a home or a car or whatever it might be in regards to consumer spending, that could potentially affect you and haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
And so those t-shirts remind me of like financial education and literacy because, I kind of got the jam, after college or through college, messing around with those credit cards. And
it's safe to say, though, and I know how it was when I went to high school and I went to college.
Yeah.
I never had a class that taught me about personal finance and personal financial responsibility.
No, it's either in your household or, that's it. Or
it's the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, school of hard knocks like myself.
Yeah.
And so, was able to get through all of that. And I remember this is, wow, I'm ashamed to kind of say this, but I went and I spoke to a loan officer because there was an opportunity for me to purchase a family home. And I was doing pretty well at the time. After school, I gotten into sales and stuff and saved some money. And everyone knew I was ambitious to try to get into real estate and such. So I got an opportunity to buy a family home, and I go and I sit with this loan officer they told me I had to go see. And he pulls my credit and he looks at me. He's like, dude. I'm like, dude, what do you mean? What does dude mean? Like, what does that mean? He's like, you got some work to do. And I'm like, all right, just tell me what to do and I'll fix it. And so ever since then, I've been on an upward climb. That's when I really started to understand what it all meant.
Yeah.
Why I love this industry is because that gentleman took the time to go through this all with me to help me understand how this affected and impacted my life. And so with that said, we're going to be talking to you a little bit about, or a lot of bit, I should say, about financial education and such. But I just kind of wanted to lead with that story because I know it will resonate with you.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it means a lot. And so as I tell everybody every week, Brian, I will likely butcher your introduction.
That's all right.
I haven't gotten that good at that yet. I don't want to read on a script or anything.
Yeah.
So you'll do a better job. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks so much for having me on. And I guess I'm show number 49. Is that fair to say? All right.
Yes, yes.
Lucky 49. So, so I'm Brian Vieaux. I'm the president of FinLocker. Big deal. What does that mean? So FinLocker is a fintech that helps consumers with, becoming and being responsible financially. And that's kind of an overarching, big statement. What does it really mean? First thing I'll do is take a step back and just share a little bit about my background and kind of how I got here. So I was a 27-year mortgage industry executive, and I ran big production shops, big mortgage origination production shops, most recently at Flagstar Bank. And what I've seen over the years, if you look at the last 10 years, technology outside of the mortgage industry has just been on a massive trajectory. Technology inside the mortgage industry, not so dramatic, right? There's some cool stuff that's been developed, but it just hasn't gone at the pace of non-mortgage.
Right.
When I started learning about FinLocker, which is about 4 years ago, the concept at the time was all about helping lenders help consumers create a less frictionful or frictionless, more frictionless mortgage process, namely around sharing data from a consumer to the lender digitally versus having to hand over, 12 pages of 4 different bank statements to verify, your deposit and cash for closing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the premise of the company early on, was to digitize asset verification. The company was probably a little bit too far ahead of its time, and it didn't take off for a couple of different reasons. One, consumer adoption at the time was consumers generally just weren't ready to quote unquote give up their data that way to a lender. But also lenders weren't ready to adopt that kind of technology. And so as I started to get more familiar with the company, I invested in FinLocker before I joined and started learning more about the roadmap. The roadmap is really what excited me. And the roadmap was well beyond, that single use case of digitizing bank data, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The roadmap was really around this holistic consumer financial well-being app. So building an app that is truly consumer-centric and helps that consumer wherever they are in their financial life with literacy and wellness. Okay. And so the second thing about FinLocker that really was interesting to me was that the company wasn't looking to do this on a direct-to-consumer basis. So consumers today aren't going to find FinLocker out in the App Store. What we do is we built our product so that our clients, our folks like Fortis Mortgage, can put your logo on it. We become part of your tech stack and give you a tool that you can provide to your customers, your prospects, your community.
Right.
And so we really support the consumer through our lender partners. And that's what was exciting to me, because I spent, almost 27 years building relationships across the industry that I was now going to be able to go leverage in a different way than I had been in the prior 5 years. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of why and how I got here. Happy to go as deep as you'd like.
Yeah, we'll get into that. No, that was a great explanation. I was sitting here taking some notes because we're engaging with FinLocker as well, and it's something that I, truly believe in and helping our consumers as well. But what's the importance of financial education? I led with that story,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned that it's not something that we've ever learned in school, or it's either you learned it in your family or your community, or like you say, the school of hard knocks.
Right.
In your opinion, like what's the importance of financial education?
So, I think if you look at where consumers create personal and family wealth, by and large, family wealth and personal wealth is built around an asset, and the biggest asset is usually your home, right?
Right.
And so it's also the biggest liability, right? It's at the same time, it's the biggest asset, and usually it's the biggest liability. Understanding that is one component, and I think it sets someone on the path. Once they understand that owning a home does put you on a path, gives you a much better trajectory to building personal and family wealth, and maybe even generational wealth, right? It just depends on the situation. But nobody talks about that in school. It's never talked about in school. I'll be honest, I don't recall that being conversations that I had when I was growing up in my house. I mean, we owned a home as a family, but we never talked. No one really talked about it.
Yeah, you just see your parents go to work and the bills get paid, and you flick the lights on, they come on, and you go in the refrigerator or whatever, and there's food there, and you don't you don't talk about that piece.
And I have three kids. They're mid 20s, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I frankly never really talked about it with them either. It's like this assumption, I think, that that we make as Americans, I guess, that's what you should do and everyone should know it. It's like it should have been, it's like it was programmed in somewhere, but the reality of it is it's not. So understanding just the basis of home ownership and what it can do for family wealth is one piece. But how do you get there? You don't just wake up one day and you're magically ready to buy a home and own a home and have all the financial responsibility that goes along with that. And so that's where tools like FinLocker, and we're not the only tool. There's plenty of resources and financial tools out there. Since I've been in this role, I've researched this. I'm shocked at how many different, personal financial apps exist. But what we've built is this place where, and I like to talk about this in the context of a first-time home buyer, right? So,
right.
Like I said, you don't just wake up one day and you're magically ready to buy a home. It happens over time. Over time, you start to get that mindset that, you know what? I don't want to pay this landlord rent anymore and make them wealthy. Or I guess it's time to get out of mom and dad's basement, right? It's
right.
some combination. And so you start to build a plan. And let's face it, the younger generations today, everything they do is centered around this mobile device, right?
Yeah.
And so why not have a plan, an evergreen plan that's attached to your phone that can give you this kind of, a pathway to home ownership, and along the way learn about what it means to be, financially responsible, learn about your credit, right? So to your point, Shawn, if these apps existed back when we were in school, we could have monitored our credit in real time instead of finding out when we went and sat down with a loan officer, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
It's not just learning, the textbook stuff about financial health and wellness. It's learning about your own situation and really truly understanding what's in your credit report, what's good, what's not so good, and more importantly, what can I do right now to start to fix the stuff that's not so good? And the same with spending, right? Where do I spend my money today? If I want to save, if I want to set a goal to buy a new home in 12 months, what sacrifices should I start making right now in terms of what I spend on, and to accelerate my savings so that I can be ready to buy that home?
Right. So let's get a little granular then. It sounds like we're talking about a personal, financial assistance tool, right?
I love it. Yeah.
You mentioned the younger generation, but both of us it looks like you have an upgraded iPhone.
Yeah, I kind of like that stuff.
Exactly. And so we've had to adapt, and we're all into as well. Like you mentioned earlier about, the mortgage industry and how we've adapted to technology and using it, very well and to its fullest.
Yep.
That's what kind of got me into this space in the broker world, because I realized that, wow, I have similar or the same or sometimes better technology than some of these bigger companies.
Yes.
And I can present as if I'm a large, mature organization.
Right.
And so with your personal financial assistance tool or others that are out there, but specifically FinLocker, because we vetted and we like it, what does that mean? Like, what does it do for us? What is a personal financial assistance tool?
Yeah. So let's use that first time home buyer. Let's just say the 25, 26-year-old who is, who maybe Shawn, they attended one of your first time home buyer seminars, or they were, referred to you by one of your referral partners and said, hey, this guy, this gal, they're not ready today, but at some point in the next 12 months, they want to be ready to buy a home. Can you just counsel them and help them? I'm sure you do this all day long, but there's only so much of you that can go around and do that, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, that 25, 26-year-old is only going to be attentive for so long with you and I talking to them. So what we've done is we've digitized that experience to a great degree in the mobile app, which, if you think about it in terms of your ability now to touch and help more consumers, we help you scale yourself across a bigger audience, so to speak, right? The hard stuff, the stuff that can't be done digitally or electronically, or the things that they can't find in the app, you're still there to field those questions and give guidance. But the other stuff is in the app. So what is that other stuff? I talked about credit already, understanding where you are today, credit from a credit perspective. We analyze, the app analyzes the person's income. How much income do you make today, right? And that becomes part of the data set that's in the app. We enable the user to bring their entire financial life, all of their accounts, into one environment, right? So I don't know if you're like me. I've got bank account over here. I've got a couple credit cards over here. I've got my car loan over here. And if I want to go track and see what's going on in those accounts, I'd log into each one of those individually and do that, right? Well, with FinLocker, you can bring all of those accounts into one environment.
Yes.
And so now, as a user, as a consumer, I have a live, up-to-date financial dashboard on my phone in real time that's telling me what's going on in my bank account, what's going on in my credit cards, my mortgage, my student loans, my auto loans, right? If I have a 401k or an investment account or an IRA, all of that is in there. So it's basically your digital financial DNA, if you will,
right,
in one spot. And so now that you have all your information in one spot as a consumer and a potential first-time home buyer, the app now takes the data, right? Takes the data from your credit, takes the income that you've told us you make, takes all that transactional data from those financial accounts, and starts to give you insights into your own financial situation, and it helps you chart a path towards mortgage readiness. So in our app, we've built this, what we call a financial readiness assessment. The one that is enabled today is focused on mortgage. So when you come into that assessment, the product, the app, I call it the locker. The locker is going to give you or me as a consumer a visualization of where I stand with respect to being mortgage ready. Mm-hmm. So we take credit for the first thing. We verify there's no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no late payments, and the credit score is above X, whatever X is by the lender. And so then we actually calculate this thing called debt to income ratio. You and I know what debt to income ratio, or DTI, is.
Yeah.
But the average consumer, let alone the average first-time home buyer, has no idea what the heck debt to income is.
Right.
And so this is where we scale you as a resource. So absent having information to tell me what DTI is, I would have to call you and say, hey, Shawn, what the heck is debt to income ratio? Why is that important?
And
in the app itself,
great deal of time explaining it.
Yeah, we have short little video tutorials, right? These little YouTube-like explainer videos that, as they're going through this roadmap, this journey in the app, these videos are available. And when you see something as a consumer, you're like, debt to income, I don't know what that means. Boom, I watch a 45-second video on debt to income ratio. And then, more importantly, after I've watched that short video and now I understand debt to income ratio, that's the measure of my total monthly obligations against my total monthly income, right?
Right.
So what does that mean? I got this percentage. Is it good? Is it bad? And how do I improve it? That's when we serve up additional content that says, hey, if your debt to income ratio is not, does not meet mortgage guidelines, call it 45-ish%, whatever that number is, watch this short video on budgeting and learn how to use the FinLocker app to set and maintain budgets that will help you lower your DTI.
Right.
So it's, basically we're giving the user kind of this digital journey towards becoming home ownership and mortgage ready.
Right. And that's half the battle. Most of the questions that come to us are about that. What do I
Yep.
qualify? How much do I need to spend, or how much can I spend? Or,
Yep.
what's my credit like? What do I need to do to improve my scores and such? And so what happens is a lot of times we get away from the strategy,
Right.
like the piece to help them get into something that's sustainable and most comfortable for
Yeah.
them, and to make the most informed decision. Because we're in the weeds a little bit too much, and we aren't really focused on the strategy. So the whole time I'm listening to you talk, I knew you all did this, but not to that extent.
Right.
It's like, wow, I just need to get everybody enrolled in the FinLocker. Hey, listen, look through this app. We'll talk through it and work through it. I'll help you as best as I can get through the application,
Yep.
but or app, I should say. But however, once you understand it all, now how can we fit this strategy to mold it around, what you're looking for in regards to being a homeowner?
That's right.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So good job with that. Lastly, the question I'll ask you is about, if you can share it. I was reading you have a relationship with TransUnion.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that fairly new?
It's yeah, it is. It's probably less than 6 months formally in place. Yeah. We're
And
super excited about it.
what's that going to do for the consumer?
So yeah, awesome question. So first of all, for consumers watching or anybody watching, who is TransUnion? So
Yeah, I took it for granted.
there's we were talking about credit and credit reports and credit scores earlier. In the financial services industry in the U.S., frankly, there's three primary bureaus, credit bureaus, right? There's TransUnion, there's Experian, and there's Equifax. And these bureaus were at first established. This is something I learned in the last year only. The reason there's three bureaus is they were kind of established regionally, right? They were basically established. I think TransUnion was in the upper Midwest. They're based in Chicago. Experian is kind of like West Coast. They're in California. And Equifax was the Eastern U.S. I think they were out of Atlanta originally. And so today, regions and geography doesn't have as much of an impact. But essentially, these bureaus are where creditors, car loan providers, student loan providers, mortgage servicers report information on consumers based on their pay history. Did they make a payment, et cetera? So when we're talking about a credit score, a FICO or a Vantage score as an example, or a credit report, the credit report is basically aggregated by one of the bureaus. And so TransUnion, one of the three bureaus, it was interested in what we were doing at FinLocker with respect to our mission to help consumers achieve the dream of homeownership and financial well-being, and started to kind of engage with us on what a partnership would look like. So one of the products or services or features, I should say, that's offered to consumers in our app is access to their credit score, credit report, and real-time monitoring and alerts on their credit. And so TransUnion is our partner for that set of products. And what TransUnion has been doing in the mortgage industry, and this definitely indirectly and directly helps consumers, but I'll just explain this, and I think everyone will kind of get the picture. So these credit bureaus, as I explained, know more about each of us than we know about ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our entire financial life, at least on the liability side of our balance sheet, is known by these bureaus and housed by these bureaus. And they see tons of data on all these accounts in real time across their database. And so TransUnion has spent decades building sophisticated algorithms involving their data scientists and whatnot to help predict which set of consumers are going to be in the market for X product, whatever that product was or is. And so one thing that in particular that they do that's super helpful in the mortgage industry, and that they saw value in FinLocker, is they can go out and identify through this data set. They can predict with strong confidence who will be a first-time home buyer in the next 6 to 18 months. Not tomorrow, not next month, not the next month, but 6 months out, and then for the next 18 months beyond, right?
Right.
And those predictions are based on the study of all the data and the trends, so things that things that they see are when a consumer is systematically reducing their outstanding credit card debt and not adding any new debts to their profile, that's a signal that they're getting ready for something in their life, right? And so what TransUnion is able to do is make that data available to lenders. The lenders then can go market to that data, right, to those consumers. And then they use the FinLocker product as the call to action to get the consumer to engage with that lender. And if you think about it in terms of what we talked about earlier, helping that first-time home buyer get to a place of readiness, in a lot of ways, TransUnion's helping lenders identify consumers before they even know themselves that they're going to be a buyer, right?
Right.
And then the lender can start to engage that consumer with financial literacy, health and wellness tools under that lender's logo, inside that lender's technology. And if that lender, through its technology and the relationship it establishes with that consumer over 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, builds a level of trust with that consumer, when they do become ready to buy and get a mortgage, I'm going to make my bet that they're going to probably work with that lender that provided them this tool and these resources to help them get to that place of readiness. So that's indirectly how TransUnion's helping consumers be better educated early in their process, so that when they are ready, they can make not only an informed decision, an informed buying decision, but one that has long-term financial responsibility with it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. Wow. So all my mortgage banking friends from previous history,
There you go.
look up FinLocker and get with Brian. It's an amazing tool, and we can help more people by using this tool. Obviously, the mortgage broker community is tapped into FinLocker as well,
right?
And it's something that we've been using to help our clients and consumers. And from my understanding, it's you're fine tuning it, and it's getting better.
Yeah, we've got we're 12 closing out our 12th week of a 6-month project where we're completely overhauling our mobile app experience.
Yeah.
I'm close to it. I see it every day, but I'm pretty proud of what we've done and where we're going to go with this thing. I do believe it's going to be a game changer for originators everywhere of all sizes. That you hit on it earlier. As a mortgage broker, you figured out how to stack technology solutions, right?
Absolutely.
And align with lenders that help you deliver the best possible combination of rate, price, and service. And so we've built our product in a way that fits right into that tech stack for the smallest of small companies or the largest of large companies.
That's amazing. So Brian, how can we find you? Like, how do we connect with FinLocker, you and FinLocker?
Yeah, so
we're on LinkedIn, but
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can get me there. You can shoot me an email. It's first name dot last name. So brian.view@finlocker.com, or you can visit our website at finlocker.com.
Okay, brian.view@finlocker.com. We'll put that in the comments. And finlocker.com is the website, the domain.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Great. So no, this was amazing. I know you're a busy guy. You got other things to do today, so I won't hold you any longer. But I really appreciate.
I love it. This is fun. This is fun to do.
Yeah, that you're jumping on to help me out and help us out, because I really find value in your app. And for me, it's all about sustainability. Homeownership just has to be sustainable.
That's right.
Right. And because it's like you mentioned, it's like, how do you get there, and then also how do you keep it?
Yeah, we didn't touch on that a lot. We talked a lot about preparing.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing for someone like you, Shawn, is the app is evergreen. It doesn't end when someone buys their home and gets their mortgage. All the same tools and features that were helpful in preparing become even more helpful in sustaining. So it's an evergreen customer for life app as well.
Thank you. So before I let you go, I don't know if you are prepared to answer the question. Kind of sorry, not sorry, but
all good. This is the way I prepare. I love it.
Hey, sounds good. I asked this question, lending pieces, the stories that we tell before we get to this point. everything with me, you know, purpose is the reason for which things are done. Right. And purpose is a major part. And it's how we got an opportunity to actually meet.
Yeah.
Through
Yeah.
an organization, a purpose driven organization. And so I've been asking, wow, for not quite 49 weeks yet. I thought it was a while ago. It's usually an icebreaker, but I save it for the end. You get one person, dead or alive, one question. Who would it be? What would you ask?
Yeah. Man. I did peek at the question and kind of my mind went everywhere, right? From, God, I'd love to ask my deceased grandfather this question, but I'm fascinated with human beings that are selfless, right? And so in my mind, there's no human being that was more selfless than Dr. King. And so, the question I have is, how do you do what you do every day that doesn't benefit you at all? It's for everybody else, knowing that the end result could be what it was, right?
Yeah.
How does somebody live so selflessly that they take themselves completely out of the equation? And there's plenty of people, you know, Pat Tillman's another individual that sacrificed, you know, financially and professionally to go serve his country, right? And so it's people like that fascinate me. What's in their mindset and in their heart that allows them to do what they do? Because I don't know that I could do it. I mean, that's just me being honest. I don't know that I have that in me.
Right. No, it's good you're honest. I had this similar conversation with a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and you know, I was asking that same question. Like, I don't know. You know, I'd like to say that I would do it.
Yeah.
But it's a huge sacrifice, and it's totally selfless.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that's just that people like Dr. King and Pat Tillman and others, they're just wired completely different. It's
right.
Amazing.
No, thanks for that. This is awesome. Like, so I love that question because we get someone new every week.
Sure.
I think Oprah and Michelle Obama are the only duplicates that we've ever had.
Yeah.
We haven't had Dr. King or Pat Tillman.
Right.
Yeah. So it's thank you for answering that. It's a great question, and it just also gives people perspective too as well to understand. So hope everybody's loving this, and you know, if you have any questions, continue to put stuff in the comments. We check it, you know, all the time, and we'll answer any questions that we have. Brian, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Again, it was a great conversation and very impactful for a lot of people. You know, everyone, like I say every week, if there's anything that I can do to help anyone, please don't hesitate to reach out. Just would be ashamed for us to have this great network and not be able to connect folks. And so if there's anything that we can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're still in a, you know, kind of a weird time. It's, you know, we're it's becoming normal, but just do your best to stay as healthy and as safe as possible. And as we know, we're going to get through this, and we're here to help. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Shawn.
No problem.